it's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
Sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvelous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but, no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Hello and welcome back to Generation Skywalker and to our commentary of Return of the Jedi, celebrating the 40th anniversary of the climax of the original trilogy. And joining me this evening, I have Peter Lee.
Hey Dan, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Gonna break your Generation Skywalker commentary cherry. You dodged a bullet with the first two, mate. You have come in on a good one. And I've got, well, some people think he's a god, Mr. Jez Allinson.
Really don't know what to say about that. Hey, mate.
All good. And I've got the man with a beard that even Crix Medine is envious of, Mr. Craig Spivey.
A night at the cinema with my pals. How exciting!
Yes, I am. I'm looking forward to this one. I know we've just done our sequel trilogy trailer show, and I think there was some positive aspects to it, Jez. I think we were balanced and fair, but I think with this. This is our passion, really, the original trilogy, and doing a commentary on one of these is it doesn't feel like homework. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% super fan checking in. I am so excited for this.
Apart from Tarzan.
Yeah. All right. There's a couple of bits.
So we're going to get into how you can watch along in a second. But before we do, I was going to go around the table, just ask everyone a question. It's a 3-part question, but it's the same for each of you. When did you first see Return of the Jedi, and who was it with? And did it live up to the hype? And I'm going to start with Craig.
So 1983, I was 12 years old. And I'd been travelling on the bus from the village to the town to the cinema for probably a year or two at this point. And I would have gone to see Return of the Jedi with my regular movie-going buddy, Mark Barham. And yeah, I was very, very hyped to it. It would have been in the Majestic Cinema in Scunthorpe. And I can remember going, I can remember queuing up, I can remember getting in the little vestibule and buying a packet of stickers. I was selling Return of the Jedi stickers. The little fun product ones, little shaped ones, packets of, I think they're packets of 4. I can really distinctly remember buying that, and probably some fruit gums, and loving it. Yeah, I was very excited for Return of the Jedi. I was very excited to see all the new stuff. I think that was how they were selling it. There was lots of new characters, lots of new aliens, lots of new ships, lots of new planets. It was all new. It was very exciting.
Brilliant. What about you, Jez?
Mate, I would have seen this aged 8 at White Ladies Road Cinema in Bristol with my dad in probably, I would say, early June. It wasn't in, the first week of it coming out in May. But yeah, absolutely loved it. Remarkably, and maybe not everyone understands this from a generational point of view, but I saw this about 16 months before Empire, because that's just how it happened for a lot of people my age or of our age. When you think about the releases, Empire came out on video October of, what was it? October 84. So Empire, if you didn't see it in the cinema and you saw Jedi at cinema, you saw Jedi before Empire. And that's how it was for me. So, you know, I was getting the novel, I was getting the book, but already it's like, whoa, hang on a second, what on earth happened in Empire? And there weren't as many Empire books available as Jedi. But yeah, what an absolutely amazing time. Loved it. And what is actually quite nice is 30 years later, at the 30th anniversary, I took my son, who was 8, to watch it as well. So definitely circle is complete.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. What about you, Pete?
Yeah, I would have seen this in Curly Cinema, which is now sadly a block of flats. But it was amazing cinema we had down there in South London, which is about 4 miles from where I live now. So I know I saw it with a mate called Down to Sousa and a mate called Barry Harvey, who I was at primary school with and very sort of good mates with. And Darren, I'm actually still in contact with, amazing. He lives up in Leeds, but we'd sort of been out of contact for about 20 years. We managed to make contact again, and he's still a sort of a pretty good mate now. So yeah, my memory sort of tells me that I saw it as a birthday treat, but I wouldn't have waited. My birthday late July, and there's just no way I would have waited 2 months to see this. So we would have. I remember when the three of us went together, and that was pretty full on. But I remember my brother went the day before, and I remember him coming back from the cinema with his mate, just absolutely buzzing and running around like idiots. So you just kind of think, bring it on. And that whole time was amazing. I think it's sort of teenage, because I was 9 then, so probably like absolute sort of in the zone and ready for it. And I remember the buzz around the toys coming out, the new stuff sort of being on release, and the sort of slow release of stuff was coming out, and the early release figures, the Akbar and the Mean Dumb, and just the hype being on overdrive.
Brilliant. Well, I'm a bit younger than you guys. I was only 4 when it came out, and my mum and dad didn't really do the cinema, so I never got to see it in the cinema. I got to watch it on a hooky tape about 6 months after it came out on a Hitachi top loader on our TV in the living room, which my dad managed to borrow off his mate for the weekend. We could only have it for the weekend, and I watched it 3 times in a single weekend. But that was my memory of seeing Return of the Jedi. So with that, guys, we're going to get ready to press play. So for anyone who wants to watch along with us, we're going to be watching this on Disney Plus. So we're going to be watching the Disney Plus version of Return of the Jedi. If you just tee up the movie on Disney Plus, and I'll count down in a few seconds. Or if you haven't got Disney Plus, I believe the version of Return of the Jedi I've got is the 2011 Blu-ray edition, but you should be good with any of the special editions. Just get them teed up ready at 000, and we'll press play in a few seconds. Alternatively, Craig is going to try his best to provide an enhanced version of this on YouTube. So long as we don't get caught up in any licensing issues, then there will hopefully be a YouTube version of this as well for you to watch. Without further ado, I'm going to hit play in 3, 2, 1. Is everyone hearing the Fox fanfare?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good, we're off then.
I need to turn the lights off, I think.
It's the best thing going to the cinema and seeing a new opening crawl in it. But after you've like episode 7 when that was on, that was like such a buzz when you get to see the crawl for the first time.
Of the emphasis on capital letters for Galactic Empire.
So did you know there was, in the first draft, there was going to be 2 Death Stars? It was going to be on a planet called Hadhabian, which was the imperial capital of the galaxy. I don't know whether that's a different planet to Coruscant, but it was originally going to be set there. There was going to be 2 Death Stars being built in orbit.
Oh, less is more.
Yeah. pretty much get half a Death Star in this one, really. It's not been finished.
And it looks so much better for it.
Yeah, it does. Very ominous.
There's extra TIE fighters dropping out of there is always a special moment. They're amazing.
This film's really just an absolute showcase of ILM at their top of their game.
Yeah.
You know, before the CGI, I don't think there's a film they did after this with the complexity of some of the shots they've got here, with so many different elements. I mean, some of the later space battles are absolutely amazing. I don't think anyone would be capable of doing it today with just models and need computers to be able to do some of this stuff. You see the little guys at the bottom there doing some welding. I only spotted them the other day. Can you see them?
Yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the TIE bomber there I didn't spot for a long time. I remember that.
Inform the commander that Lord Vader's shuttle has arrived. Sir.
It was originally going to be Grand Moff Jurad in the original script. I think it was going to be much more of a villain of a rival to Vader.
Have you noticed how in all the contemporary TV shows they all do that little blast of dry ice when a ramp comes down?
Yeah.
We're honored by your presence.
You may dispense with the pleasantries, Commander. I'm here to put you back on schedule.
I assure you, Lord Vader, my men are working as fast as...
The military person in me is looking at the way these stormtroopers are all stood. Different ways, weapons held differently. I'm like, come on, lads, sharpen up.
The Emperor does not share your optimistic appraisal of the situation.
But he asks the impossible. I need more men.
Then perhaps you can tell him when he arrives.
Vader's helmet is really shiny in this film, do you not think?
That is correct, Commander.
Massively, I was just about to say that.
Proper
Yeah.
buffed up, isn't he? Do you think he's got a special machine to do it for him? He stands under it and rolls his head round it.
It's probably in the top of the chamber he hangs out in, isn't it? Probably got it there. So where were the deleted scenes originally meant to be? Like there? Because there's no one with Vader.
Vader would have walked off to his meditation chamber, starts calling Luke, doesn't he? And then Luke sat up in the hills there somewhere making his lightsaber.
So that was all just there, and then it cuts to the droids leaving.
Don't be so sure. If I told you half the things I've heard about this Jabba the Hutt, you'd probably short-circuit.
Really at the first special edition there, look, the big door. Proper big door now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Otto, are you sure this is the right place? I'd better knock, I suppose. There doesn't seem to be anyone here. Let's go back and tell Master Luke. Goodness gracious me.
I love this little, well, they called it back in the day the iRobot, but now kind of canonically they've changed it to Gatekeeper Droid.
Okay.
But,
They had one
I love
in Mandalorian, didn't they, in the first season, and he rips it out.
Yeah.
When he's trying to break in and rescue Grogu.
Yeah, so this was Larry Ward, who then went also on to play Jabba.
Who did the voice for the iDroid?
Yeah.
Otto, wait!
do like the fact you get. This film's almost like two films in one, because you get this whole rescue at Jabba's palace. This takes up pretty much. This is like 25-30 minute sequence of the film. You're almost getting two films for one. It's almost like your Bond intro with steroids.
Yeah. Just you deliver Master Luke's message and get us out of here. Bye.
My mum always tells a story about these Gamorrean guards, because after I saw this, I wanted a Gamorrean guard action figure. And if you were to tell my mum that these weren't rare action figures, she wouldn't believe you. She had to go halfway around London to get me one of these for Christmas.
We bring a message to your master.
Yeah, I remember the first kid in my school to have a Gamorrean guard, Michael Branch, and he would lend it to you. He would like, yeah, you can have it this afternoon. And it was like, yeah, so popular because he had a Gamorrean guard.
He's pretty scary when you're a kid.
Yeah, that's his teeth and fingernails.
That's it, yeah.
Have you seen a bad lip reading? Have you watched any of the bad lip reading?
No. Oh, I might have done. I vaguely.
Oh, just watch it. I think it's like bad lip reading Return of the Jedi. It's I think they've done all the Star Wars movies. Yeah, it's very funny.
Look at Scab.
Sorry, I'm afraid he's ever so stubborn about these sort of things.
I love the fact, look, just on the right hand side, it just shows it's really worn and it's real. Do you know what? The attention and detail that they've put in there. He's got like little oozing scab. Love it.
Let's look at Jabba the Hutt. That is an amazing puppet, isn't it? Even today, it looks convincing. There's certain shots where he looks a bit rubbery, but some of the shots are brilliant of it.
Yes, how many guys in there? Is it 3 or 4?
Yeah, I think there's a dwarf in the tail, and then I think there's a story about Carrie Fisher going a stiletto hill going through the tail when she jumps over it, and stab the geezer in the head.
Greetings, Exalted One. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight and friend to Captain Solo. I know that you are powerful, mighty Jabba, and that your anger with Solo must be equally powerful. I seek an audience with your greatness to bargain for Solo's life.
What did you guys think of? I mean, I wasn't old enough to remember, but obviously seeing Luke in an all-black costume, were you? Was that kind of at all? Was that a red flag? Were you worried that Luke was going to turn to the dark side when you first saw that?
I don't remember.
I think that was meant to be the intention, right? That you were, after everything that happened in Empire, that you were going to see him in black, and you didn't know which way he was going to go.
You're playing the wrong message.
I think at age 8, I just loved it. I thought it looked great, but now looking back, I think from a symbology point of view, it really shows confliction. But that was just lost on me at the time.
We're doomed. Artu, look! Captain Solo. And he's still frozen in carbonite.
Quick, a man.
All of these scenes are so dense, aren't they? I mean, it's years later that I really got to grips with who was actually in these scenes.
Because Dengar and Bosk are both in there, aren't they, as well? Somewhere at some point, you got Dengar and Bosk even.
Yeah,
that's right.
That Han Solo character was originally in the first draft. I think when they got to the palace, he was already going to be out of the carbonite, and he was going to be locked up in one of these cells with a beard. And Chewbacca and Lando got thrown in with him because they got caught trying to rescue him.
I think what we ended up with was much better.
That's good.
Yeah.
This tortured droid is Ben Burt.
What, making the noises?
Yeah.
I am C-3PO human sign.
And this EV-99, that's the voice of Richard Marquand, the director.
Is it?
Yeah.
I heard that
Oh,
was.
sorry, it's 88. Yeah, 88.
Yeah, so
No, it's EV99.
EV99 is the woman out of The Simpsons, the one who does Lisa Simpson's voice.
I'm going to my book, but okay.
Well,
Either way, it's a bizarre concept to think that these things can feel pain.
yes, absolutely.
It's like the ones getting drunk in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Does an EV99 turn up in The Mandalorian somewhere?
Yeah.
As a bartender.
She's in the bar, isn't she?
Yeah.
And in 88 was the translator for Boba Fett.
Matt Berry.
That was hilarious. I thought that was a great casting.
Last year in October, I went and watched this at the Royal Albert Hall with the live orchestra, and this next scene was the weirdest bit because of this. Obviously had all the violins and all the orchestra out, and then you've got these guys all of a sudden break into Jedi rocks. I feel like we should be calling it how terrible this is, but it is what it is, right? But the CGI has aged badly on this, isn't it? They need to do a redo on this again.
I watched this.
Yeah.
I watched this and all I can taste is Doritos.
Yes.
I'm just looking at that Max Rebo saying, I'm never going to get one that blue.
Group shot coming up. Oh dear. Had a bit of a nipple slip there. Have you noticed that before?
No.
Oh yeah, it's full on. And I kept it in. And it's a U certificate. I think it's great they got her back, 16 years later to film this shot.
Yeah.
Her down there. Because originally you just saw her fall in, didn't you? The yak face at the background there. You can see yak face.
Oh no, Chewbacca!
Right, so the voice of Boosh is the same female actor who played E.T., or the voice of E.T., Pat Welsh.
So they through a decoder or digitized somehow the voices. How do they?
Yes.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been digitized so much, but they would have put one through.
Yeah. Some sort of synthesizer or.
The illustrious Jabba bids you welcome and will gladly pay you the reward of 25,000.
You know.
50,000, no less.
He's so slick, isn't he, Boba Fett?
What did I say? The mighty Jabba asks why he must pay 50,000.
Yoto.
Because he's holding a thermal detonator.
So loads of sounds coming out of that thermal detonator, loads of different pulsings and bits and pieces. Some of the sound coming out of that thermal detonator is the Jabba's eyeball servos that Ben Burt heard them and just recorded them.
Didn't we watch when we were doing Attack of the Clones? Didn't we say those servos were used for something else as well? There was something in Attack of the Clones that we used for Jabba the Hutt otherwise, but I can't remember what it was. I can't remember, Jez.
He agrees!
Why have we never had a thermal detonator toy as well? Or have we? I don't think we have.
That would have been great.
Surely they got the tech now to actually do something pretty lifelike.
Like a little water bomb on a timer with a balloon inside.
Yeah.
Really what I was thinking.
That would be amazing.
Well, you got the Coca-Cola bottles.
Who's this?
Yeah.
Who's this?
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's Lando. Look, pulling his mask down just to make sure that we've noticed.
Works every time. I like the way the Gamorreans must have starved after Jabba died, because in Mandalorian they're all so skinny. They must have been starving.
Yeah, I don't get the reasoning behind that. It just looks terrible, I think.
I might be wrong, but isn't there a Doug in this? Maybe it's
There
in the
is.
late scene.
There's a CGI Doug.
Yeah.
I don't get the wind. I never got the wind chimes. They're just so random, aren't they?
Yeah, not as clumsy or random as a blaster.
Yeah, just stick some wind chimes up. Walk straight into them. See the Tauntaun heads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would have got that back in the day, though, would they?
It isn't particularly well lit, is it?
Thought they would have put some sort of guard on that button, you know, because that was quite easy to press, wasn't it? You can imagine, got a man with his headhunter staff just accidentally touches it. That could have been
Just falling over, drunk. Yeah, just drunk, clumsily falling over, just knocked hand off the wall.
Makes you wonder then, if Harrison Ford hadn't come back for this, if he hadn't signed up for this third film, what they would have done with that block of carbonite.
Just relax for a moment. You're free as a carbonite.
Such a great costume, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love this costume.
Hibernation sickness.
I can't see.
Your eyesight will return in time.
Where am I?
Jabba's palace.
Who are you?
Hey.
She's looking so hot.
I gotta get you out of here.
What's that? I know that laugh.
C-3PO being muffled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jabba. Look, Jabba, I was just on my way to pay you back, and I got a little sidetracked. It's not my fault.
Chicago, you need solo. King Salika Magna, Niskachata. We now come back for Podo.
Look,
Yacha need Joe.
Jabba, I'll pay your trip. You're throwing away a fortune here. Don't be a fool.
This is all a bit creepy though with Jabba. I know we all have a bit of slave layer, but when he starts sticking his tongue and trying to lick her, it's a bit, it's a bit gross, isn't it?
You're gonna regret this.
Snot and muck they put around his mouth for this bit as well.
Oh.
He's getting off on it, old Bib, isn't he? Like, the faces he's putting.
Where's that water come from on Tatooine?
fortune.
Yeah, you'll be scooping that up, selling it to the mobs.
It might be Chewie needed a wee and
Yeah.
hold it.
Yeah, it's Wookiee wee.
Chewie!
Rancor.
Can't see, pal. What's going on? Luke's crazy. He can't even take care of himself, much less rescue anybody. A Jedi Knight? I'm out of it for a little while. Everybody gets delusions of grandeur. All right, pal. I'm all right.
So this is all one morning, right? No, it's a morning. It's an evening going into the morning. What's the timeline? I guess this is morning because that happened during the night. So it's day to night, day overnight.
Not really sure. They've had enough time to get on Amazon or Vinted or whatever and get Leah this costume, which fits her perfectly. So it might have taken a couple of days. So.
That's you, Doug.
I must speak with Jabba.
I suppose as well, if you hadn't seen the film, obviously had Empire Strikes Back with Luke losing his lightsaber, you kind of watching this film, without the deleted scenes in it, you'd be thinking he still hasn't got one. You know, he goes through this whole next sequence still without getting his lightsaber out, which would have been pretty handy against a Rancor. So you're led to believe he hasn't got a lightsaber still.
Very true.
At last, Master Luke's come to rescue me.
Master.
Oh.
Never no pace Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight.
I must be allowed to speak.
Jedi mode speak and go eat.
You'd think Jedi would have like a little handbook that told them what species they can use their mind tricks on and which ones they can't. Because didn't Watto say the same thing to Qui-Gon when he tried it on him?
Yeah.
You think they'd have a little book, wouldn't you? I know what it would work on.
It's in the sacred Jedi texts.
Yeah.
Luke's admitted that he never read them.
You can either profit from this or be destroyed. It's your choice, but I warn you not to underestimate my power.
Master Luke, you're standing on...
Yeah. It looks like he was carrying a Jawa gun. I loved it as a kid when this Gamorrean guard got ate by that. What a Rancor.
Oh no, the Rancor!
I remember when I used to work at P&O years ago, I used to work with a guy and he was in a band called Rancor. And people would go, what do you mean Rancor? What's a Rancor? And he'd go, oh no, it's the Rancor. And they'd walk around and go, what are you talking about? The bone crunching sound.
Yeah.
I always remember the one of the making of videos where George Lucas is describing exactly how he wanted the Rancor to slurp up the Gamorrean. He's sort of doing it on screen to fish that out. It's quite funny.
But this was originally going to be a man in a suit, there's some footage of them trying it out, and it just weren't happening. But this is a high speed puppet, but I think it looks really good. I know they're taking out some of the matte lines for this special edition, but I still think it's pretty effective.
Still really not happy.
Look great.
I'm just not happy about the way they were all really cheering when one of their own went down. They were so jubilant when he was killing one of their own Gamorrean guards. One of you lot fell into the Rancor pit. I'd be really upset.
You'd rethink your occupation, wouldn't you, when you saw that? You'd be like, So how many times do we actually get tears in the whole Star Wars saga?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think they might be the first. I don't think Luke even cried when his aunt and uncle got cremated.
No.
Together again, huh?
Ewok has a little snot later on when one of his mates is taken out.
Oh, they then go again.
You see that random thing coming out of the ceiling, and it gets longer as well. It's really weird.
Yeah,
That thing with the tongue.
Yeah, I sort of noticed that quite recently, and I think it sticks out even longer in the next scene.
I think you get one of those in one of the. I think the little diorama kit.
The nesting place of the all-powerful Sarlacc. Doesn't sound so bad.
But it's one of those things you sort of look at it. It's like Craig, you mentioned earlier, the density of it, and you just sort of think someone's actually made that puppet and they put it there, and then you see it so briefly.
Yeah. You should have bargained.
You're trying to lick C-3PO.
That's the last mistake you'll ever make.
There's a lot of bodies in that scene.
There's a lot more humans in
Yeah.
Jabba's palace than you remember, isn't there?
Yeah. With quite good close-ups, but they were obviously overlooked for the more interesting aliens when they came to making action figures. Does it look not?
And have you ever had a skiff? Your own full skiff?
Nope.
No, it's high on my list. I'd love to get one.
I think my eyes are getting better. Instead of a big dark blur, I see a big light blur.
They re-released it quite a few times, well, haven't they? Didn't they re-release it fairly recently on the
Yeah, I think the
Vintage
Power of the
Collection?
Force one was pretty much the same as the original vintage one, like the Power of the Force 2 version.
Yeah, the little, it had a sort of clear window, didn't they? Did it come with figures? I can't remember.
R2, what are you doing here? Well, I can see you're serving drinks, but this place is dangerous. They're going to execute Master Luke, and if we're not careful, us too. I wish I had your confidence.
Feed me, Seymour.
It is, isn't it?
There's loads of EU stuff around Sarlacc, isn't it? I think, Craig, they don't they? Like they're like almost like a space seed that lands on planets and just grows into the ground like a plant.
Almighty
Something like that.
His Excellency hopes that you will die honorably. But should any of you wish to beg for mercy, the great Jabba the Hutt will now listen to your pleas.
Jedi.
3PO, you tell that slimy piece of worm-ridden filth he'll get no such pleasure from us.
Great line.
Jabba, this is your last chance. Free us or die.
Just to love the imagination. All these aliens, all these costumes, the whole pirate theme, everything about it.
I like the, I think it's Family Guy does a big parody on this scene, and every time the music goes dum, they cut, and it goes on for like 5 minutes. They just keep moving around. It just goes on forever.
Adds so much tension though, doesn't it, the bum-bums?
Kurs Nummer!
What is everyone going out of their mind because he had a green lightsaber as well? It's like, couldn't get their head around it.
Easy, Chewie.
I always wondered, obviously we had the second season of Mandalorian with Luke Skywalker in it at the end, if him and Boba Fett met again in those scenes, if he hadn't have flown off in Slave One and helped him on that Imperial ship, what that meeting would have been like between the two of them.
This force kick coming up. There it is.
Brilliant.
That's the second burp joke, and we're in. What? How far are we in? Can't resist it, can he, George?
Mando Rabbit!
Lauren! Trying!
Hot Slayer.
Whoa! Grab me, Chewie! I'm slipping! Quick! Come on, grab it!
This stuff was great when I was a kid, seeing Luke doing all of this. This is amazing when I first watched this film. I mean, that's the first time we ever see a blaster bolt deflected with a lightsaber as well in Star Wars. I was watching an interview with Billy D. Williams the other day, and he was talking about this scene. And when he's saying like Harrison Ford was so into this scene, one of the squibs went off and went through Billy D's foot. He's screaming in pain, but yeah, Han Solo didn't come out of character, and Harrison carried on acting.
Come on, we gotta get out of here.
Got my eyes! Start to help! Quick, pick up!
He's a bit like Stuart, isn't he, really? Salacious Crumb. He gets compared to Ewoks, but I think he's more like Salacious Crumb.
Is Klaatu Skiff played by Billy D. Williams' son? Is that right?
Yeah.
Possibly, Joe.
Whoever built that gun needs to be shot. Fancy having that gun able to aim at his deck. It needs to have its own arcs of fire limitations put in there to avoid fratricide and stuff. I remember watching the making of, and this was obviously clearly huge scene, huge explosion. So much in that. And let's go to Act 2.
That was where they cut out the all the sandstorm scenes
Yeah.
filmed all got cut out, and they just reverted to just having Luke and looking over the comms on the ships.
I think musically it works better the way they've done it now.
The Alliance should be assembled by now.
I will.
Hey, Luke, thanks. Thanks for coming after me. Now I owe you one.
That's right, R2. We're going to the Dagobah system. I have a promise to keep. To an old friend.
I do like this structure. They did a similar thing with Revenge of the Sith, which funny enough, the third film in the trilogy, where you've got that 25-minute opening scene of them trying to rescue the Chancellor, and then it goes into like the catch your breath and you go into the next bit of the film. It's mad, that's a painting. The majority of that is a painting. It's crazy, isn't it?
The probe droid there on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're stunning. All the matte drawings, the matte paintings you see for this movie.
Here come the dignitaries. It's kicking off now. Who are those guys in the blue uniforms? What do they do?
The Death Star will be completed on schedule.
You've done well, Lord Vader.
I think this is one of the most underrated pieces of music in Star Wars. This, it's such a good theme tune for the Emperor.
Yes,
Look at that. Ankles together, feet apart over there, feet apart there, feet apart just a couple inches.
And when he does,
Smart enough.
Aren't the ones with the feet apart Lily Leddy ones?
Yeah, very good.
He got short mouths as well.
Very good.
Have you checked in the painting, Jess? Are they correct in the painting?
I didn't see that one.
That's the painting.
The sound throughout this is just incredible. That rumbling thunder, everything.
How much of this was sport for you guys going into it? Because obviously the novelisation was out and comic books and all sorts of stuff. Did you know much of what was going to happen in the film before you saw it? Can you remember?
I do.
I don't remember. I don't think so. Obviously, it was many years before the internet, so I think it was just sort of maybe word of mouth, and you either didn't believe it or you were seeing it pretty early, so it was all pretty fresh to you.
When 900 years
I had
old,
two girls that used to babysit me when I was young, when they were teenagers at the time. I would have been 4 years old, and I remember them coming back from seeing it and telling me that Darth Vader had his hand cut off. And they probably told me loads of other stuff as well, but that made me want to see it more than anything else. And what, Luke fights Darth Vader and wins? That was the draw for me.
Master Yoda, you can't die.
Strong am I with the Force, but not that strong. Twilight is upon me, and soon night must fall. That is the way of things. The way of the Force.
But I need your help. I've come back to complete the training.
No more training do you require. Already know you that which you need.
Then I am a Jedi.
Not yet.
He's such a good puppet, isn't it? He looks so good. They just couldn't get it right for episode 1, though, could they? It's funny, isn't it? Maybe it's just a lighting thing.
Master Yoda. Is Darth Vader my father?
Rest I need. Yes. Rest.
Yoda, I must know.
Your father is. Told you, did he?
Yes.
Unexpected this is. And unfortunate.
Unfortunate that I know the truth.
No. Unfortunate that you rushed to face him. That incomplete was your training. That not ready for the burden were you.
I'm sorry.
Remember, a Jedi's strength flows from the Force. But beware. Anger, fear.
We're all so quiet because we're just watching it.
Once you start down the dark path, forever will it...
Frank Oz really is getting a performance out of this. Bit of rubber in he.
Yeah.
No. Do not underestimate the powers of the Emperor, or suffer your father's fate. You will. When gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be. The Force will strong in your family. Pass on what you have learned.
Don't sit on an island for 10 years and do nothing.
There is another sky.
When he disappears in a minute, you notice all the details of the pillow. There's a little hole in the pillow, the blanket. It's just all done with such care, consideration. Give me a little pillow with a hole in it, or the top of the chair and a little hole in the blanket. It's real, all of it.
I was watching it with Emma's young daughter came in a couple of years ago and was watching it. She's like, "Oh, Yoda dies!" You couldn't believe that Yoda had been killed off. He's such a well-known, iconic part of Star Wars. Even if you haven't seen Star Wars before, and she couldn't get over the fact that they killed him. Oh, comes Alec Guinness getting these days working, and God knows how many millions.
Why didn't you?
5%.
You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father.
He earned so much money out of these films. It's incredible. He got those 2 percentage points for doing it, and it's just earned him. His family must be still great in cash.
Became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man who was your father was destroyed.
That was a big thing as well, wasn't it? Learning Darth Vader's real name, Anakin, like that. Images just to come out and say Anakin.
Point of view.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to.
I always thought that, because it doesn't really explain the name Anakin. Normally, a lot of this has meaning behind it. I always thought Anakin was meant to signify anarchy, was close to the word anarchy, and that's what Vader kind of represented. Do you think there's anything in that?
I always thought, like, because kin is family, isn't it?
Right, okay.
So I always sort of made that association.
I was wrong.
There is still good in him.
He's more machine now than man. Twisted and...
Cheesed off.
Yeah. He don't want to be there, does he? He's had enough of Star Wars fans and signing autographs. I do love it in the novelisation because it really expands on this, doesn't it? And it's got the origin of Darth Vader and how Anakin got burnt in the lava pit and all of that. If you read this conversation, it's a lot longer in the book.
You were our only hope.
Yoda spoke of another.
The other he spoke of is your twin sister.
Say what now?
No sister.
You've got to wrap it up in one film. So she's your sister.
The Emperor knew, as I did, if Anakin were to have any offspring, they would be a threat to him.
I read that, the whole bit in the Empire Strikes Back when Yoda says, no, there is another. That was just to give it stakes. There was no thought behind who the other would be. And it was just put in there to make you think, oh, well, maybe Luke isn't coming back from this fight on Cloud City with Darth Vader.
They do you credit.
They hadn't decided it was going to be Leia until they started probably writing this, had they?
Come on, let's look for Prune Face. Oh, there he is. I can see him. There's two of them.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
I told him about my little maneuver at the Battle of Tanev.
Well, don't look at me, pal. I just said you were a fair pilot. I didn't know they were looking for somebody to lead this crazy attack.
I'm surprised they didn't ask you to do it.
Well, who says they didn't? But I ain't crazy. You're the respectable one.
He's behind him there as well, isn't he? In the black cape there, next to 3PO.
Got the hoods up.
There's the 3 of them there.
Yeah. It's funny because we're watching this and I'm paying so much attention to it. I'm just seeing loads of stuff I don't think I've ever seen before.
It's really classic. You got all your aircrew on one side and all the foot soldiers on the other. So realistic. I'm not seeing with it.
Upgraded the graphics since the last time they talked about the Death Star.
Learn that the Emperor himself is personally overseeing the final stage.
Put the medical droid in there just in case.
Well, he survived Jabba's palace because he was getting torn apart in the last shot we saw.
Bring us this information. Admiral Akbar, please.
You can see here the Death Star orbiting the forest
moon. We're going to see Maideen in a minute. What is the story with that beard? Did they put the beard on him because they'd already developed the action figure? That's the story, right? Is that?
The Death Star does have a strong defense mechanism.
So it's shaved him. It's false beard.
From the nearby moon of Endor.
Because they had one for the action figure. Well, they designed the action figure with a beard, so they gave him one.
The shield must be deactivated if any
Look at Endor in comparison to the size of the Death Star, which is massive. Yet they still call it a moon.
Yeah. So how big's Endor?
And attempt to knock
huge.
Out the main reactor. General Calrissian has volunteered to lead the fighter attack.
Good luck. You're gonna need it.
General
I've noticed those 2 ladies before.
We have stolen a small Imperial shuttle. Disguised as a cargo ship and using a secret Imperial code, a strike will land on the moon and deactivate the shield generator.
Sounds dangerous.
I wonder who they found to pull that off.
General Solo, is your strike team assembled?
They can make realistic aliens look like they're really dying, but they can't make a beard. But then Obi-Wan's wig wasn't much better, was it, in Episode 1?
General, count me in.
I'm with you too.
Yes, as soon as Luke walks in, I'm with you too. Meeting's over. They haven't said, right, any questions? Everyone understand? There's been no check of understanding. Luke's walked in, everything goes weird. Look, he's buggered off.
Hardly the word I would choose.
It's that little gantry there next to the Falcon. That's in all 3 films. But that's yeah. It's mainly a matte painting in that one. That shot.
Yeah, they didn't build a Falcon actual prop like they had with the other films, did they? It was just a matte in this because it's not really. I suppose it's not needed.
I know what it means.
Yeah, that looks like a picture from the storybook, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not the best one.
I think now they've got like these higher res copies of the film. It definitely looks less convincing now, but it never stood out to me until I got the ILM book and they showed the matte paintings, and I sort of thought, wow, I just didn't register to me that was a painting.
Isn't he none with legs? The only time you see him with legs, because he's a puppet, isn't he, when he's in the cockpit?
I remember when I was a kid, I got a birthday card, and it's this shot of them all in the in this cockpit, and it's got them fly the Millennium Falcon or something, and I'm like, and I knew they're not in the Millennium Falcon, they're in an Imperial shuttle. I think I've still got that birthday card somewhere.
Is it the same shot as the jigsaw puzzle?
Yeah, I just got a
Yeah.
They're all in the cockpit.
Of the shuttle.
Come on, Jen.
Tiberium was a good ship.
Yeah.
Right. Chewie, let's see what this piece of junk can do. Ready, everybody?
All set.
Here we go again.
Everything was just more, wasn't it? There was just more on screen all the time, and this little armada, all these ships, all different shapes and sizes. It's just like there's so much to take in. I really remember that.
That little bit there was a proud moment for me because I got to see a Rebel transport. Like, that's where it's from. Brilliant.
What is thy bidding, my master?
Send the fleet to the far side of Endor. There it will stay.
These are a proper freak show, all of these lot, aren't they, really?
There's lots of sort of horror elements in this. I mean, the Bomar monks. I mean, I don't know whether the Bomar monks were established for the film, but certainly the EU writers, whoever gave them that backstory that they were disembodied brains to achieve enlightenment. I mean, it's dark stuff for a kids' film, isn't it?
They're almost like the Cenobites out of Hellraiser. They're all very pale and S&M like.
If they don't go for this, we're gonna have to get out of here pretty quick, Chewie.
It's a great shot in it of that massive superstar destroyer going across the Death Star.
Shuttle Tydirium requesting deactivation of the deflector shield.
Have you ever seen that photo of all the Imperial dignitaries together and they're all sort of gurning into the camera?
Yeah, we looked at it when we did the old Fossils episode about the Imperial dig.
Transmission commencing.
Now we find out if that code is worth the price we paid.
I think they chose the best one to do the figure of. I think the colour's quite out there.
Vader's on that ship.
Now, don't get jittery, Luke. There are a lot of command ships. Keep your distance, though, Chewie. But don't look like you're trying to keep your distance.
Lovely relationship.
I love this.
I love the fact Piet survived Empire and he's still there.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Parts and technical crew for the Forest Moon.
Do they have a code clearance?
It's an older code, sir, but it checks out. I was about to clear them.
I'm endangering the mission. I shouldn't have come.
It's your imagination, kid.
Vader knows he's there, right? The 100% Vader knows he's on that ship.
Yeah.
Why does he let him go?
Shall I hold?
And
He knows
says,
he can
leave
get
him
close
to me.
to him.
But he says, leave him to me. But he doesn't do anything, does he?
He does. He goes to Endor.
No, but only when Luke hands himself in to those stormtroopers in the attic.
I think you'll see it that the shuttle goes to Endor anyway. Luke's got his plan. Vader's got his plan.
Right. Okay.
People talk about Harrison Ford phoning it in from an acting point of view. But when he said, "Come on, let's keep a little optimism here," I saw in his own face that he was doubting that himself. You know, the optimism, and I believe that. I don't think he phoned it in at all. I enjoy what he delivers.
I told you it was dangerous.
Someone
here.
put some cam cream on C-3PO for God's sake.
Should we try and go around?
It'll take time.
This whole party will be for nothing if they see us.
Chewie and I'll take care of this. You stay here. Quietly. There might be more of them out there. Hey, it's me.
So great, these four getting, you know, they weren't really together in Empire Strikes Back, you know, a little bit at the beginning. But getting them all together for these scenes on Endor, they are good. I've always loved this as well when he treads on the stick. It's hilarious.
The driest stick in the wood.
Yeah.
Go for help, go! Great. Come on.
And he busts out some judo, doesn't he, in a sec? He'd already done Raiders by now, right? So he was used to a fist fight. Grunting.
Yeah, bit of is it Terrace Kazi? Is that the in-universe martial arts?
Quick, jam their comm link, center switch!
I loved all this. This was great. I think the toy was brilliant. That Palatoy ad around the table was brilliant.
Just the sounds. Like, how much do these speeder bike sounds get used now? They're the speeder bike sound for everything.
I remember they showed it on probably Newsround or Blue Peter or something. I remember seeing stickers from this chick and it just comes around right by it.
That's great armor as well.
Keep on that one, I'll take these two!
That's a great shot, isn't it? Do you think pod racing's hard? I reckon this has got to be a tougher ass than riding a pod. What do you reckon? Navigating all these trees.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the only reason why Leia climbed. She just went to get above the tree canopy so she could just check the manual, and then she came back down again.
I love the detail when she falls off the bike and the way the bike wobbles as it continues on its way. It's got like a wobble to it because there's no one to balance it out.
You can hear all the sort of foliage as well, like the trees, the leaves, everything breaking underneath, can't you?
Because we are headphones in for this, so we're not got overspill on the recording, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff I've never heard before. You know, the chatter in Jabba's palace, all the background noise of just beings muttering and chirping away. It's a whole richer experience.
I'll tell you one thing that ruined that bit there for me. They showed the behind the scenes, and when the top of the speeder bike, the bit that Luke cuts off, hits the ground, that shot, it's just a bloke throwing it on the floor, and they've got a camera in front of it. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, ruining the illusion.
Luke!
Where's Leia?
Well, she didn't come back.
I thought she was with you.
We got separated. Hey, we better go look for her.
Take the squad ahead. We'll meet at the shield generator at 0300.
Come on, R2. We'll need your scanner.
Don't worry, Master Luke. We know what to do. And you said it was pretty here.
Right, I'm off, lads.
So when you first saw this, Craig, what was your opinion of the Ewoks, inclusion of Ewoks?
I was 12 years old. I was on board with it.
Oh, you were?
You know, I think looking back, we knew a lot going in. You know, there was a lot of pre-publicity. There was a lot of, you know, we'd seen in Emperor's War Guard, we'd seen Biker Scouts, and they were trying to keep the Ewoks back a little bit. But I'm sure I'd seen them. I'm sure I'd seen pictures of them going in, even though they were blacked out on the back.
That's it, yeah.
But yeah, I went with it.
I think it depends what age. I just didn't register it as being an issue at all.
I think everybody watching along, listening along, will know that this was all originally intended to be Wookiees.
Yeah.
But because Chewbacca had been portrayed as being quite tech savvy and flying spaceships and fixing things, Lucas had to sort of go back and chop them in half and move the word around and make them Ewoks. And it was always his Vietnam allegory, and it is, you know, that's exactly what it is.
And he wanted to sell more toys to kids.
Come on.
Warwick Davis is brilliant as this character, isn't he?
And it's great he's carried on that relationship with Star Wars as well. I think he's been in pretty much, certainly in all of the prequel trilogy. Various characters.
Because how old was he in this? He was still a kid, wasn't he?
He's like 10 or 11, wasn't he?
Yeah, he just still playing with toys.
And it was meant to be Kenny Baker was meant to be Wicket, but he was sick that day, so they got Warwick in the costume.
Love those noises there.
What is it?
Tiny little subtleties. What he does with his tongue, right? Every now and then you'll see it. It's in it, and it just adds that realism.
And he said about he had a dog. When the dog would look inquisitively, he'd like the head would adjust. And he tries to copy some of that.
Endor blaster, expensive.
Especially the black one.
Yeah.
That biker scout must have been walking like a ninja, because he didn't step on a single twig.
Yeah, he's hardly inconspicuous in that white armour, either is he in the forest.
He's probably he might have Tarkin slippers on.
What the?
It's funny, the whole Ewok thing. You're going to see Harrison Ford interact with him in a minute, and that's the most surreal thing, because he doesn't really do. I can't think of any sort of kiddie films he's ever done. He's always been the hard man in an action film. But seeing him have to interact with the Ewoks, I wonder what he was thinking when he found out that was going to be the scenes he was going to have to do.
Front of the storybook image.
deleted scenes with them doing a lot more as well. Not a lot more, but they hold their sticks up anyways.
I told you to remain on the command ship.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
Yes, I know.
It's mad, isn't it, that Ian McDiarmid's only like 36 when he's doing this. He's probably younger than, definitely younger than Harrison Ford, I think, or around the same age. Makeup job's brilliant, I think.
But I have not. I wonder if your feelings on this matter are clear, Lord Vader.
They are clear, my master.
Then you must go to the Centauri moon and wait for him.
He will come to me?
I have foreseen it. His compassion for you will be his undoing. He will come to you, and then you will bring him before me.
As you wish.
The spider web behind him, center of the spider's web. It's a trap.
Whoa! Whoa!
Have you guys ever seen a documentary called The Force Among Us?
Oh, Master Luke.
No, I don't know. I can't recall it.
So they go out to the Redwood Forest, and much like when the guys go out to Tunisia and look for the filming locations, and they're trying to track down all of the places they film this, and they go into the town near where this was filming, and one of the guys has got the, you know, the creature Chewbacca finds at a minute and sets the trap off. He's actually got that hanging in his store. Must be worth a fortune. Just hanging there in his store. This thing.
Hey, I don't get it. It's just a dead animal, Chewie.
Chewie, wait, don't!
Nice work. Great, Chewie. Great. Always thinking with your stomach.
You take it easy. Let's just figure out a way to get out of this thing. Han, can you reach my lightsaber? Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure that's such a good idea. It's a very long
R2-D2's a real Swiss Army knife in this film, isn't he?
Oh.
So a lot of the voices they've used for the Ewoks, Ben Burt was, I think the lady was, I think it's Nigerian, she certainly, or maybe Swahili, something like that. But he basically got this woman drunk on vodka and just recorded her speaking, and formed a lot of the voices for the Ewoks.
Don't. It'll be all right.
It's similar for Nine Numb as well.
Chewie, give him your crossbow.
Oh, my head! Oh, my goodness.
Ayun, puno daw to. Makanta.
They're not so bad, the Ewoks, are they? I'm in a good mood tonight.
It's weird, isn't it, that they worship 3PO and not Chewbacca?
Because he's like a giant version of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you understand anything they're saying?
Oh, yes, Master Luke. Remember.
Has there been any expanded universe material that's explored this? Is it all part of a prophecy? Is it all part of the Force at work that, you know, 3PO is there and it turns the tide for them?
The only thing I've really read with Ewoks is that they were hunting down and eating stormtroopers, and there's stories of stormtroopers with PTSD after being on Endor.
I think there's some of the Battlefront 2 games where you're being hunted by Ewoks at night. It's terrifying.
It's good fun. It's like team games, isn't it? It's you have one side the Ewoks and one side stormtroopers, and you've got to chase each other down. It's pretty cool.
He's an old friend of mine.
You know, this whole end sequence, you know, the Emperor is one step ahead in every respect. He knows what the fleet's doing. He knows what these guys are doing on the ground. The one thing he does is ignore the Ewoks, underestimates the Ewoks.
Yeah.
That's his blind spot, and that's his undoing. They're insignificant to him and his big plans, and that's what trips him up.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
I love it in a minute with Han trying to blow out the flame on the torch, and all this stuff's quite good.
Atoyum, no. Atoyum, no.
It's like a porg with a lightsaber, isn't it? You're just waiting for him to ignite it into his face.
Remember that baby Ewok was 4 stickers in the Panini album, wasn't it? Pretty sure.
But it appears you are to be the main course at a banquet in my honor.
You know, considering how many times I've seen this, it's still quite a zippy film, isn't it? You know, we're quite far into this now. It does move at a good pace.
She's had enough time to go to the tailors, the salon, everything. I mean, look at that outfit. That's awesome. Makes you wonder, who did they kill to have that? You know, clearly they're into eating people. So, is she wearing the robes of a dead person?
Are the Ewok movies set before or after this? Maybe it was someone from the Ewok movies.
That didn't help us very much.
Sindel.
Yeah.
Mace.
Do as you wish. You'll become angry and use your magic.
But Master Luke, what magic? I couldn't possibly.
Just tell me.
Has anyone ever spotted Lumat in this?
It's the grey one with the bow and arrow, isn't he?
All I know is that's low grey, and I think that's the only one I could probably have. Wicket are probably the only two I could tell you their names.
Just as I said they would.
They mixed up some of the card backs as well, which doesn't help, does it?
Let's get this.
You get Paplu, don't you? I think it's Paplu who nicks the speeder.
This is really letting you know, innit, how far Luke's come. And, you know, from the last film we couldn't lift the X-Wing out of the lake, and now he's just doing this very calmly without having to struggle in any way.
He still had to throw a skull at Rancor's gate switch. Another attachment out now, look.
Goodness.
Thanks, Lucio.
I never knew I had it in me.
We're going to have to play that game of double entendres in the Star Wars trilogy, because there are so many comments and phrases which could be misconstrued as rude. I love this.
I like story time.
Batata Rundi, Darth Vader. And Chenko Vaskimo
I like Tickalo Carbon. I think it's my favourite thing he says.
Was Michi and Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Imanamachu Vader con Yumnum. Utabe. Yes, R2, I was just coming to
I think that's Chief Chirpa sat down, isn't it?
Yeah,
Master Luke at Chimney Chudu. Uto Millennium Falcon at Chimney Cloud City. Us Nutch Vader. Han Solo. Ticolo Carbon. Wonde Kachna Gubusalak. Oh.
Harrison Ford's thinking, what's happening? What I signed myself in for?
What's going on?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Ale.
Wonderful. We are now a part of the tribe.
Just what I always wanted.
Well, short help's better than no help at all, Chewie. Thank you.
He says the scouts are going to show us the quickest way to the shield generator.
Good. How far is it?
Ask. Gronik.
We need some fresh supplies, too.
Chiotoba.
Try and get our weapons back.
Uma Frida.
Hurry up, will you? I haven't got all day.
Luke, what's wrong?
Leia, do you remember your mother? Your real mother?
Just a little bit. She died when I was very young.
Very young?
What do you
About 5 seconds after you were born,
Just
though.
really.
Tell me.
She was very beautiful, kind, but sad. Why are you asking me this?
I have no memory of my mother. I never knew her.
Luke, tell me, what's troubling you?
Vader's here. Now, on this moon.
How do you know?
I felt his presence. He's come for me. He can feel when I'm near. That's why I have to go. As long as I stay, I'm endangering the group and our mission here. I have to face him.
Why?
He's my father.
Your father?
Proper disgust in her face, isn't there?
Just took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
If I don't make it back, you're the only hope for the Alliance.
Luke, don't talk that way. You have a power I don't understand and could never have.
This was a great use of this next bit of dialogue, wasn't it, in the Force Awakens trailer, the first one.
Power too. In time, you'll learn to use it as I have. The Force is strong in my family. My father has it. I have it. And my sister has it. Yes. It's you, Leia.
I know. Somehow, I've always known.
Then you know why I have to face him.
No. Luke, run away. Far away. If he can feel your presence, then leave this place. I wish I could go with you.
No, you don't. You've always been strong.
But why must you confront him?
Because there is good in him. I felt it. He won't turn me over to the Emperor. I can save him. I can turn him back to the good side. I have to try.
This is the guy who blew up her home planet, so she's going to really struggle to get over that, isn't she?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing. I just want to be alone for a little while.
Nothing. Come on, tell me, what's going on?
I can't tell you.
Could you tell Luke? Is that who you could tell?
So I'm probably about a quarter into the audiobook of The Princess and the Scoundrel, which rewrites what happens to Han and Leia after Return of the Jedi, as opposed to the old expanded universe and their courtship. Do you want to know what happens?
Did they go on that starship thing, don't they? Did they go on that hotel at Disney?
Yep.
You what? They do what?
You know the hotel, the starship at Disney? This one that's just been shut down?
Yeah.
That's where they have
to that.
That's where they have their honeymoon.
So they get married on Endor. Immediately after the Death Star gets blown up, they have a little ceremony with the Ewoks and they get married. And Mon Mothma makes them go on a honeymoon, and they go on the Halcyon. And they go, the Disney, ill-fated Disney Star Cruiser.
Have they got a honeymoon suite then? Could you stay in that if you went there? If you pay an extra $10,000, you can stay in the honeymoon suite for the night.
I didn't catch that they were in a honeymoon suite. Han goes and plays Sabak with some engineers in a little side room. I don't know whether you get to do that or not.
That's what the inside of an AT-AT looks like.
And I request permission to conduct a further search of the area.
I thought that they had INT little ships in them.
Good work, Commander. Leave us. Conduct your search and bring his companions to me.
Not as shiny. Not as shiny.
He's got his action helmet on.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
This is a cracking scene, this, isn't it? This is really good stuff.
So, you have accepted the truth.
I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully. That was why you couldn't destroy me. That's why you won't bring me to your Emperor now.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Indeed, you are powerful, as the Emperor has foreseen.
Come with me.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do. You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master.
I will not turn, and you'll be forced to kill me.
If that is your destiny.
Search your feelings, Father. You can't do this. I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
It is too late for me, son. The Emperor will show you the true nature of the Force. He is your master now.
I know James Earl Jones is just a master at this, but huge credit to Dave Prowse, because just the tiny nods, inflections, everything he's doing. Bearing in mind, from a non-verbal comms point of view, we can't see the mouth move, but we're getting so much from his gestures, head nods.
And even this, just staring out like this.
Yeah.
You know, feeling the conflict. You know, he's feeling.
David Prowse is Darth Vader.
There is a part of this film, though, how much of him was he actually in the costume? Because I know he'd had a big falling out with Lucasfilm at this point because of letting slip who the whole Luke, I am your father scene, or I'm your father. It was, I don't think it done him any favours, and he fell out with George Lucas and Lucasfilm. Didn't get on well with the director of this film, Richard Marquand, and he didn't have a good time on this film.
Anthony Daniels didn't get on with him either, with Richard Marquand.
Right, okay.
He had to do a lot of his ADR afterwards with George.
He says there's a secret entrance on the other side of the ring.
But didn't you find out really late in the day about Sebastian Shaw playing Anakin as well?
Right, okay.
I think that was really late.
This film's just wall-to-wall action now to the end credits, and it's non-stop. We had all the couple of slow scenes to set everything up, and now we're off to the races. That's such a great shot in it of the Falcon flying through that fleet and then coming up to the screen.
But with the heroic music of John Williams, it just paints such a great picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know who the goodies are. Just listen to that music.
Oh, this will be the shortest offensive of all time.
He's a great puppet, and he's lighting up. I think he's great.
All craft, prepare to jump into hyperspace on my mark.
All right, stand by.
Yep.
Back door, huh? Good idea.
Yeah, that's Paplu. Did you say that earlier?
Yeah.
Still haven't seen Luke.
It's only a few guards. This shouldn't be too much trouble.
It's like, right, Wicket, I'm going to go and nick that speeder. You tell the big golden one.
Well, it only takes one to sound the alarm.
Then we'll do it real quiet-like.
Oh my! Princess Leia! I'm afraid our furry companion has gone and done something rather rash.
Oh, no.
So in the storybook, which I'm sure we've all got, the red one with the Emperor's Royal Guard and Vader in it, Scholastic Publications, love it. They name check Paplu in it. So it says, 3PO calls, "Oh, Mistress Leia, I'm afraid Paplu has done something rather rash."
I do love this, the way he's hanging off the handlebars. It is quite funny.
Yeah.
Is that the book that's got Luke in Jabba's palace hanging from the... When he jumps back up? It's
Yeah.
Oh, look at him, like a bantha.
Yeah, that book you mentioned. No pictures of a Rancor in it, but 7 or 8 pages with Ewoks.
Next hand.
Isn't one of those been retconned to be Rex, you say?
I think people desperately want it to be, don't they? But they're saying it isn't. So is this a bit of a makeshift throne room? 'Cause it's got like cans and shit lying around. It's not very regal.
It's in a spire, isn't it? At the top of the Death Star. It's on top of the Death Star, not just on this big spire.
Okay. And it's not finished, is it? To be fair. There's probably still some cans of paint lying around still.
I think it's got like a standard throne. He's got the same chair in every film, so he must just like have either extra ones or just take one with him.
Yeah.
Guards, leave us.
Guards are like, awesome. I'm off to play Candy Crush.
I'm looking forward to completing your training. In time, you will call me Master.
You're gravely mistaken. You won't convert me as you did my father.
Oh no, my young
A proper ghoul, isn't he?
You will find that it is you who are mistaken about a great many things.
His lightsaber.
Ah, yes. A Jedi's weapon. Much like
I think we talked about this on those fossils, but he had such a job to come in and out baddie Darth Vader, didn't he? And he made a real good fist of it.
Yeah.
Soon I'll be dead.
Yeah. I mean, even like the the whole story with the Force lightning, that Vader can't overthrow him, because if he does, he'll just get blasted with Force lightning. So he never gets to do what the Sith are destined to do. I mean, he was in the original novelization as well, wasn't he? I think there's an epilogue to that, or a prologue, when it talks about with Palpatine overthrowing the Republic and creating the Empire. So he's not an afterthought and just a baddie that's been chucked in. He was always there. He's mentioned, isn't he, in A New Hope?
Yeah, he is. He's name checked, isn't he, quite early on?
Yeah.
Everything that has transpired has done so according to my design.
There's some great extra dialogue in the novelisation as well, when he's talking to Luke about, he can feel he's become strong with the Force, and who trained him, and he said it couldn't have been Obi-Wan because he's died so long ago. It must have been, it was Yoda, wasn't it? And he mentioned, he name checks Yoda, but there's no indication of any relationship to the Jedi in here at all. Him wiping them out, or why he'd want to wipe them out.
No.
Are you buying the name Sheev? Are you taking that as canon now, or are you hiding that one in from your mind, Craig?
Well, he's got to have a first name, hasn't he? And I guess it follows all the baddie names, like Tyrannus and Rancor, and they've got earthly meanings, haven't they? Because he's likely to shiv you in the queue in the canteen.
Chargers, come on!
Oh my, they'll be captured.
Here he
Wait, come back!
comes.
Archie, stay with me. Free!
You rebel scum.
It's a great effect, isn't it, that hyperspace? You take it for granted a bit, and they've been doing it a lot recently in the TV stuff. But it was cool at the time.
All wings report in.
Red leader standing by.
Gray leader standing by.
Green leader standing by.
Lock S files and attack positions.
May the Force be with us.
We've got to be able to get some kind of...
Yeah, so he is speaking Kenyan. In fact,
Kenyan.
That particular is higher, H-Y-A-H. And apparently when this film was shown in Nairobi, they absolutely loved it. They went mad. They saw it as a huge bit of respect that they had kept their language in.
Take a base of action. Green group, stay across the holding sector and each other.
Some of these shots, look at this, just amazing how the different elements they've got there. And that's not done in a computer, that's someone having to cut and paste bits of film one on top of the other. Look at that.
Yeah.
There's too many of them.
Accelerate to attack speed. Draw their fire away from the cruisers.
Copy, Gold Leader.
Come, boy. See for yourself. From here, you will witness the final destruction of the Alliance and the end of your insignificant rebellion. You want this, don't you? The hate.
There was meant to be an extra bit of jeopardy there, and there was a deleted scene for it, that the Emperor had given instructions that if anything happened to him, or if the shield got taken down, he was going to turn the Death Star onto Endor and blow up Endor. And there's a deleted scene of him getting that order from Moff Jarrod, and Moff Jarrod kind of weighing up whether he was going to do it or not. So he was a bit conflicted as well. Yeah, I think that was just a step too far. It kept it simple.
No. It is unavoidable. It is your destiny. You, like your father, are now mine.
So it's unusual, isn't it, to have 3 different scenes playing out, 3 different stories of what key critical points to happen.
Exactly what I was going to say, Jez, because you had Star Wars just had the trench run. In Empire, you had Luke fighting Vader and Han and Chewie and Lando escaping. And in this, you've got a 3-way. But then he takes it up another level in Episode 1 because he goes to 4. There's 4 different storylines going on at once. You've got Maul versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. You've got the land battle, the air battle, and you've got Padme trying to capture Luke Gunray. So you've got 4 going on in that one.
I think we'll probably all agree that 3 is the magic number.
Well, they're on their way. R2, are you sure this was a good idea?
Freeze! Don't move!
We surrender.
I love the behind the scenes of all of this when you see the Ewoks baiting up stormtroopers and there's a bloke with a megaphone shouting out, "Beat the shit out of them!" So what do we reckon the best destruction of an AT-ST is? Some of them are a bit poor, but others that look really good, I think.
I think I was about to say the effects of them are so good. They're kind of you can't like fault them. You think how hard that must have been to do. But I think probably the favourite is the logs. So when the logs buckle into the logs.
I like the logs smashing it in the face.
Shot as well. I mean, it's obvious how they're doing it, but it is clever.
Here's the terminal.
R2, where are you? We need you at the bunker right away.
Going? What do you mean you're going? Going where, R2? No, wait! R2, this is no time for heroics! Come back!
You take it for granted some of the stop motion stuff they've done in this film. It's so slick compared to what you see in other films at the time. And I know it's machines moving and horrible creatures, but even still, it's so good.
Watch yourself, Wedge. Free from above.
There's real progression, isn't there, across the 3 films to get to this. It really is just a massive showcase to where they've got to with all this stuff.
What do you think about the choice of laser blasts? Because when they're on the ground, everyone's firing red lasers. Everyone, they're just firing red lasers. But then in space, you've got the goodies firing red, the baddies firing green. Should they just buy their stuff in a different area?
I think it maybe they thought it'd help people identify who's firing at who. I don't know. I've never thought about it before, maybe. It's a good point, though.
See, I would have given the green to the goodies because red is associated with Sith. There we go.
Yeah. there's a logic to that.
Something special planned for them. We only need to keep them from escaping.
As you can see,
Looks like nothing from there, does it?
apprentice, your friends have failed.
Oh, if it had been a film today, they'd be flying up past the view screen every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It would be really in your face still.
Camera would be shaking.
Operational battles.
I think there's something to be said though for the fact that because the technology was so restrictive, they had to be, you know, simple in the storytelling, but it had so much to it. When you've got the technology there to do all these complicated shots and all this fancy stuff, it just, I don't know, makes it less personal.
That blast came from the Death Star.
Yeah, so this is the issue. Why is the Death Star operational? Why has it got planet-defying lasers and it can't have its own shield?
Shall I tell you why?
Go on.
I was thinking, because I know you mentioned this the other week. I mean, because Luke says to the Emperor, your overconfidence is your weakness. He said to those guys, right, the Death Star's not finished, just get the gun built, don't worry about the shield. Same as the Ewoks being on the planet. They just needed that gun to work. That's my theory anyways, Jez.
Okay, yeah, I'll buy that.
Probably different contractors, to be fair.
Yeah. Got a contract now.
Hurry! My goodness! Martin, why did you have to be so brave?
Well, I suppose I could hotwire this thing.
I'll cover you.
Music, just telling a story. Thanks.
Oh no.
More tears.
You don't actually see the tears though, do you?
Did they ever make the dead Ewok as an action figure?
You just lay one down. paint his eyes shut and lay one down. Maybe give him a scorch fur.
Yeah.
Yes, I said closer. Move as close as you can and engage those Star Destroyers at point-blank range.
At that close range, we won't last long against those Star Destroyers.
We'll last longer than we will against that Death Star. And we might just take a few of them with us. She's gonna blow! I'm here!
Have you seen the outtakes of the pilots? And there's one called Granny Pilot, and it's like literally like a 60-year-old woman who's stuck in a cockpit with a helmet on, and she's just saying the lines. They're coming in, I can't shake them off, and all this. It's brilliant. Have you seen it?
No, what's that on?
Yeah.
I'm going to send you the link over, Pete. It's hilarious. It's just all these different actors, like they've obviously got in on from an agency, just literally stuck them in a pilot costume and
film loads for the
main lines. Yeah, it is really funny.
I am defenseless. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
So all of these scenes, Vader's lenses, I think, tell a story as well, because they kind of go a bit smoky, a bit cloudy at times, almost like his path is clouded, because he loses the shine. Definitely later on start noticing his lenses a bit.
I'm going to keep an eye on that. I've never noticed that before.
Definitely when his son is very nearly dead, the lenses are completely different.
Here you go, Jez. Ancient Wookiee war cry.
Cheap gag.
One of these is Richard Marquand, I think. One of these. I mean, maybe this guy was the director.
Yeah.
Is it Robert Wise was on the other one? I think he threw out. ATST destruction now.
Chewie's hair was great in Return of the Jedi, wasn't it?
Yeah. I like the card back on the vintage.
Yeah. They kind of nailed it, and then they went sort of backwards on The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at Chewie earlier on. His hair's almost in curtains, which was very much at the time. In fact, maybe a couple of years early. But there's definitely a slight curtains element to his hair.
There's a couple of 80s touches in this. I always thought like the Rebel, like home worn, and Admiral Akbar's costume, that kind of grey with the yellow, felt very 80s. Sort of unusual, really, because they don't tend to reflect the eras that they were made in that respect.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I got it.
it's a good gag.
He definitely just copped Phil then, didn't he? You all saw it.
Oh dear.
Don't move!
I love you.
I know.
Hands up! Stand up!
Funny in The Mandalorian, they had the episode with the ATST, they made out as if they were like indestructible. Just blown up about 3 of them in 30 seconds in this.
Did you see the bottom of her boots? There was no grip on them at all. They were just completely flats. Not appropriate in the forest.
That was quite shocking, wasn't it? Him kicking him down the stairs. You're like, oh, he's going to have the upper hand after seeing him get his ass kicked in Empire.
Let the hate flow through you.
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
I will not fight you, Father.
You are unwise to lower your defenses.
Your thoughts betray you, Father. I feel the good in you. The conflict.
There is no conflict.
You couldn't bring yourself to kill me before, and I don't believe you'll destroy me now.
You underestimate the power of the dark side. If you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny.
You get the real sense he's just trying to impress his boss standing behind him, and he's on the edge, and he doesn't want to fight him.
Watch out, spotted .06.
I'm on it, Gold Leader. Good shot, Red Tooth.
Sure in the middle of it now.
She's definitely
Come on,
in it.
and oh, buddy, don't let me down.
It's over, Commander. The rebels have been routed. They're fleeing into the woods. We need reinforcements to continue the pursuit.
I've never noticed those extras acting at that desk before. Yeah, we did it.
You just shoot Han. You just shoot Han.
They surrender pretty easily, don't they?
Throw me another charge.
Yeah, you got to watch Vader's right hand.
Oh, yeah, he's got the saber.
Yeah.
So you're going to explain that, Dan, to the listeners?
Not hide forever.
Yeah. So there's a scene in the book in the novelization where Luke rolls his lightsaber to Darth Vader and he picks it up and flips it. Well, holds on to it, and then Luke pulls it back from his hand before this fight starts. I imagine to simplify the scene, they've just left Vader holding the lightsaber.
Your thoughts betray you. Your feelings for them are strong, especially for sister. So, you have a twin sister. Your feelings have now betrayed her too. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. Now his failure is complete. If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will.
One of the greatest toy lines there is.
Yeah, your favourite modern figure, yeah.
But what a powerful scene with that music,
Yeah, the music,
and the
yeah.
the chorus.
We've never had a
Everything.
chorus in Star Wars. You've had some in film music where people have sung, but nothing like with a chorus. It's a new thing. for
Adds
this.
so much more tension and
Fulfill your destiny.
murk.
Take your father's place at my side.
It started to get upsetting for me, I think, when I first saw this. When the lightning starts crackling. And that bit where it hits his teeth. Oh,
There was some stuff in the first draft where I don't know, well, maybe one of the drafts where it was the spirit of Yoda. You'd see the outline and the electricity trying to block it off of Luke. Yeah,
really?
Decided to make it. Luke facing it all on his own.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
It was I think it's in the in Rinsla's book. If you read through that, they considered putting that in there.
So be it, Jedi.
Runs about 50 meters away.
yeah.
Okay.
There's no debris falling around him or anything.
Commence attack on the Death Star's main reactor.
We're on our way. Red group, gold group, all fighters follow me. I told you they'd do it.
If you will not be turned, you will be destroyed. Young fool. Only now, at the end, do you understand? Your feeble skills are no match for the power of the dark side. You have paid the price for your lack of vision.
Yeah, it's the lenses to me. Just, I don't know, there's loads of sadness in there already, I think.
And this is the special effects here. Those electricity effects. That's all hand drawn, and just the scale of it almost. Normally you watch these things and some of the 80s movies that came out around that time, and it wouldn't look great, the electricity effects, but it looks real.
Yeah, when you get the skeleton of Vader as well coming up.
Yeah.
I think it's just the light shining on that one on the right.
Do you prefer that scene with the nose or without?
I'm take it or leave it. You know,
I've
we
sort
have
of
to
got used
sometimes
to it
let
now.
go. Yeah. Somehow the Emperor survived.
Sith magic, cloning. What are you gonna do?
This is the scene.
Going in.
It's quite a feat, isn't it, when you think what a villain Darth Vader is and how villains generally get treated in films. To have him become a sympathetic character, the way he is at the end of this film, it's quite a thing.
Now lock onto the strongest power source. It should be the power generator. Form up.
I remember playing that arcade game, Return of the Jedi, with this scene. Bloody hard.
Split up and head back to the surface. And see if you can get a few of those TIE fighters to follow you.
Copy, Gold Leader.
Is that the first time you get that music since New Hope as well, isn't it? The TIE fighter attack music.
Yeah.
That was too close.
We've got to give those fighters more time. Concentrate all fire on that superstar destroyer.
Sir, we've lost our bridge deflector shield. Intensify the forward batteries. I don't want anything to get through. Intensify forward firepower!
Too late!
It shows you how big the Death Star is, doesn't it, when you see that great big Star Destroyer and it just looks like nothing compared to the surface of it. I think we're all going to go a little bit quiet now and listen to this bit.
Luke, help me take this mask off.
But you'll die.
Nothing can stop that now. Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes.
No. Go, my son. Leave me.
No, you're coming with me. I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
You already have. Luke. You were right. You were right about me. Tell your sister. You were right.
father. I won't leave you.
Did any of you guys know that Vader's mask was going to come off before you see it? What did you think of that? Because it's pretty shocking, isn't it? The state he's in.
He's in a state. Yeah. I just remember thinking, apart from the big, horrible, gaping gaps and stuff on the top of his head, he actually looked quite sweet and quite nice.
Yeah.
And relieved to see his son for the first time.
Yeah. Well, they took them away, didn't they? Yeah.
Gave them some eyeliner.
Move the fleet away from the Death Star.
I love this shot now when the Falcon's flying out and it just all explodes behind it. This looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
This one here.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There's still that breaking glass sound as well when they hit it.
The story goes the Falcon was originally meant to get blown up in that. They were going to kill Billy D and Nine Numb.
They did it!
I'm sure Luke wasn't on that thing when it blew.
He wasn't. I can feel it.
You loved him. Don't you?
Yes.
All right. I understand. Fine. When he comes back, I won't get in the way.
Let's get married. Let's go on a star cruise for our honeymoon.
He's my brother.
And that's the last line of Star Wars. He's my brother. There isn't another spoken word line in this film now.
Apart from that one.
If that counts, I don't know, it's Ewok.
Saying, can I come on the cruise? Won't be any bother. I carry your bags.
That's how they missed the trick, wasn't it? They should have done a honeymoon suite. I'm convinced that people would have paid.
I'm sure they probably
enough
did,
money
mate.
to keep it open.
Could have saved them, couldn't it?
Yeah.
I'll report back when I've finished the book. I'm sure it's a rip-roaring tale.
Wicket was actually saying, can I organise a stag do?
Oh, that's in the book, yeah. It's messy.
So did Luke put the helmet back on his dad's body to burn it, or what's going on there? Is that just the armour?
Well, we have to assume he's in there, don't we?
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether he disappeared because he became a Force ghost and he was just burning the armour.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, they burn Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, don't they, at the end of episode 1. So.
I still prefer Yub Nub.
Yeah, the best bit about all this is where they're putting the statue down.
Yeah, and they've got
like
the stormtrooper. Have you seen a stormtrooper? They're carrying a stormtrooper in Coruscant and they throw him off the edge. See if we can spot him. Have you not seen that?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
Let's see if we can spot the stormtrooper. Here we go, he's in here somewhere.
Yeah,
well, there he is,
there
look. They've got him right there.
This works well as a finale in terms of new music, far better than the whole Jabba's Palace sequence. That just doesn't work
Yes,
at all.
no, absolutely.
just too much fire in a dry wood area.
They know what they're doing. I always liked that bit.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, Jez, if you ever leave the army, I think if you have another career, I think you should be as a risk assessment officer.
There's some bad dancing going on in this. It's like the Inspector Morse raid episode.
Trying to find the appropriate time to remind Dan I'm in the Royal Air Force, not the Army, but
Sorry.
you get the point.
You know what I mean? Military services.
I know what you mean.
Oh, there's Green Face, he's getting down.
Yeah. Ewan McGregor's uncle.
What? I don't understand. Who's that?
I wonder who's that bloke.
What's going on?
That's the worst bit of the movie.
Who's he?
Why they did that?
It's another random Jedi.
Like some teenage kid.
It's never gonna be right.
What a load of rubbish.
Whee!
Oh, we made it. That was easy. Compared to some of the other ones we've done. That was good fun. Enjoyed that.
It's good, isn't it, Star Wars? I like Star Wars.
It is. Good movie, that.
I like it a lot.
What are we taking away from that? What have we spotted that we're taking away? For me, it's that tongue thing hanging off of Jabba the Hutt's ceiling. I'd never seen that before. That is amazing.
Really?
I'd only spotted it recently, and I think did I look it up? It's there's a whole backstory. You can look it up. I'm sure there's a backstory to what it is. It's weird. I remember thinking, my God, I never noticed it, and then I just don't know how I found it. I'll try and see if I can find out what I read, but I remember there is some sort of backstory to it.
They did make him into a little figure. He was included in, I think it was like the Airfix set, the little diorama of Jabba's palace.
Return of the Jedi is often cited as the weakest of the original trilogy. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think at the time, I think it went for spectacle. I think that was the feeling. It was like, wow, it looked great, and lots went on. I think it's only got richer as more of the story's been told. So I watch that now, and I can't divorce myself from the prequels, from the Obi-Wan show, and you put that onto Vader, you put that onto those characters, and I think it's a better film for it. That's my hot take.
I think Return of the Jedi is better for Mark Hamill. I think as an actor, he's developed over the years from 76 through to 82, as this was being filmed. I love it. It's just so easy watching, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the effects, we've talked about how good the effects are in that. And I think seeing it as a 9-year-old, that just is absolute perfect timing to perfect age to get that. And I think it probably comes in for too much criticism for the Muppets side of it. And I don't know, I just think it was pretty groundbreaking at the time. And the design of all the characters and the costumes.
I think the Ewoks are still a bit jarring, but there's so much else going on around that. Maybe it's the rose-tinted glasses effect, and that's got a big part of it, but I can be quite forgiving of it. I love it. I think it's great. And I've always, when you think of the ranking, everyone says it's either Star Wars or Empire, then Jedi. And I've been guilty of flip-flopping Return of the Jedi between, I've had I think I said on the last show I'd had Attack of the Clones ranked higher than Return of the Jedi at one point, which is just insanity. But yeah, I've been guilty of probably giving it short shrift, but it is a good film. It's a great film. 5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads we can pick apart in all of these things, as people do now in modern movies. You look at technology, and the two rebels are always going to be behind the Imperials. But you'd like to think if the Imperials can build a Death Star and then a second one in relatively short order, the rebels have probably got firepower enough to blow up the bunker from offshore, from outside of Endor. But we've got to follow these adventures of our heroes.
Yeah. Maybe we just need a bit more childhood innocence.
You just watch a movie and enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, you watch Top Gun Maverick and just think, that's an amazing movie. It's just a little bit, it's a little bit silly. but it's an amazing movie. It's not
That's what you do for a day
over-analysing.
job, isn't it, Jez? What are you talking about? I thought that was how it really was.
There it is.
I reckon you go out and oil yourself up and play a bit of volleyball on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's the Navy, isn't it? Oh, well, that's been brilliant, guys. I've really enjoyed that. It's a dose of feel good cinema. I've really I needed that.
And a massive coming together of John Williams' the themes all coming together as well. That's like, I know it's mentioned time and time again what John Williams brings to it, but it can never be underestimated, can it?
No, even these new themes, the Emperor's theme, this one we can hear now, the Luke and Leia theme, brilliant.
Any of you guys watch this for the 40th anniversary at cinema?
Yeah, I did. I got to the cinema.
Yeah, I didn't, but I kind of justified it by the fact that I'd seen it saw it with a live orchestra a couple of months before that. So yeah, I didn't make it, unfortunately.
I wanted to, just didn't manage to get everybody aligned.
It was a real short window when it was 1 week, and it wasn't at many cinemas. I mean, certainly in London there was only a handful it was in. I've got probably 4 cinemas within about 3 miles of my house, but yeah, none of them were showing it, unfortunately.
Well, I managed to watch it. It hasn't been advertised very well, but I tell you, hand on heart, it was the busiest I'd ever seen the cinema since COVID started. It was rammed, and it was amazing.
It's all generations as well. It's all sort of a real mix of sort of people going to see it. So.
Brilliant.
Luke Skywalker will return in 2015.
Excellent. So, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed that, and yeah, I hope everyone listening's enjoyed it too. So, until the next show, it's good night from Craig.
Cheerio.
It's good night from Jez.
May the force be with you.
It's good night from Pete.
Good night. Cheers, guys.
And it's good night from me. We are Generation Skywalker. All eras, all passions, all Star Wars.